Tonight's guest is Adam Waller. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Vic. It's kind of surreal to be talking. It's like you're a celebrity, and it's like, I'm a little old me, you know?
Far from it. Thanks for saying that, but yeah, far from a celebrity. I'm just a normal guy. But, like I said, thanks for saying that nonetheless.
Perspective, To me, you are.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I do. Adam, please give us a brief bio on yourself.
Okay. 38 years old. I have just recently celebrated my birthday in this past September. I haven't really done a lot of anything really fancy, graduate school, get a job, don't really have any major skills like a welder or anything, but during my time I picked up quite a bit of jack of all trades. I know a bit about this, a bit about that. So right now I'm currently taking care of my mother. She's not an invalid or anything, but she's spent all her life standing up on her feet in one varying chicken processing plant or another. So her feet and hands they don't work real good like her hands. She'll just randomly let go.
Well, you're a good man for taking care of her. And for anyone listening, just so you know, Adam's definitely one of those people who cares more about other people than he does about himself. I mean, totally unselfish. I'm really impressed by this guy. Adam, you say you were born with a phobia of werewolves. Please expand on that for us.
Well, I've always had the sensation that they were in the woods, maybe not necessarily watching me specifically, but were there. I always had the sensation, like when I'm driving home, when I'm coming through the woods, you can't drive very fast on some of it, and it's like I just know that the thing's fixing to come out of the wood line and smash into the car. When I was little, it seemed like it was, irrational, because I'm like, after I found out what a werewolf was and whatnot, I was still scared of them and terrified. But it's like the movie, my brain can separate movie from possible real life. I mean, as cool as werewolves and shapeshifters are, that's some pretty mojo, magic, whatever. But nothing scared me any more than them. The second most scariest thing is deep water. But I never really had nightmares about them. I can only remember like maybe 3. The interesting thing is they all take place at one of the stories. But my mom helped me kind of go from a phobia level of fear to just being, terrified. Because Scooby-Doo was 1998. It was called Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. And one of the ghouls, the little girls, was a werewolf. And it was like, I can't be scared of that. And then later her dad comes in and it's like, I'm seeing it's a cartoon. Oh, I can just be terrified. I don't have to, be like, oh my God, I'm going to have to live in space because they're down on Earth. And it's just kind of like I guess you could call it maybe a like primal spinal sense, I guess. I don't know. It's just always there all my life. It's just like I knew right around that corner of that tree, if I stay out here long enough or I look in that direction long enough, I'm going to see it.
Wow, I can understand why you were so shook up about the possibility of werewolves being out there. But that brings us to our next question, which is, in 1996, your parents bought a house in the woods. Being as terrified of werewolves as you are, how much trouble did that give you?
I didn't even think about it, honestly. It was new. It was, it was a brand new mobile home. Yeah, it was a 96 model, so it never occurred to me. And whenever it did, it's like I'm in the house and there's people there. And now, when I'd go outside as I got older to come smoke or whatever outside, then yes, it's like if I watch The Howling before I go outside at night, I'm not going outside.
Well, it goes without saying, I'm so glad to hear it didn't give you much trouble. But I'm wondering, though, you mentioned a bit ago that you're able to separate movies from real life, and that's how you're able to watch all these werewolf movies. With that in mind, what's the best werewolf movie out there?
In my opinion, I'm going to have to go with The Howling. My second favorite is going to be Dog Soldiers, and then, of course, we got to have American Werewolf in London and all the classics.
I don't believe it, Adam. You left the best one out. You never said Bad Moon.
I forgot. Yes, my bad. I forgot about that. There's so many good ones.
Yeah, there are. Where would you say Bad Moon ranks in your list now?
It'd definitely be, if not the top 5, in the top 10. Because after I watched it, and I finally got to watch it where it wasn't recorded off TV, the whole thing, and seeing that it was based off of a book, I'm like, I'm getting the book. And the book was really good. The only thing that really got me was when the kitten got it.
The kitten?
Yes, the book is through the eyes of the family dog. He considers everybody part of his pack, even the little kitten.
Oh, you're talking about Thor.
Yes. I forgot the name temporarily. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I don't hold it against you. Yeah, I knew there was a book and that movie was based on the book, but I've never read it, but I'm sure it's a good read.
It's interesting to see it wrote and from the dog's perspective.
Yeah, that would be interesting. It's a fresh approach, I'll give him that.
Right. Which is why the dog was such a big thing in the movie, but it never really explained why he was. It was just the dog protected his family.
Yeah, that he did. If you'd like to be able to listen to the show without ads and have full access to bonus content, that's an option. To find out how, please go to dogmanencounters.com/podcast. From what I understand, your mom and dad had an encounter of their own in the 80s. What can you tell us about their experience?
I could only tell what my mom has told me. My dad, all he would ever do was just kind of nod and agree, but he never really said anything. But at this point in time, I had a cousin. He was the firstborn son. He wasn't the first child, but the firstborn son. And so he was the first one of my aunt's kids to go out, and he actually made something of himself, if you will. But he didn't have a car at this point in time, and I think he'd come in for drill since he was in the guard. And they were taking him to his mom's house for the weekend. And so they were coming around the corner. I don't quite know which one because back roads are so sneaky. But my mom told me that they turned the corner and the headlights caught some ice shine. Nothing came out of the woods at them, nothing chased them. It was just ice shine, and then they turned around the corner and they went. My dad at the time was pouting because my mom didn't let him drive the car. So he's over there and kind of brooding, and whenever they see the shine, he sits up and asks my mom if she saw that. And she's like, yeah. My cousin didn't see it because there was a 1985 Mazda hatchback. It was blue. Due to the way it was constructed, the side of the car that separates the front and back doors and the back of the seat in front of you blocked a lot of the vision as you looked in that direction. You had to be looking straight out the window or on the other side at the back to have seen the left side of the road. It would be the right side heading out. So they went and dropped my cousin off, and I assume they stayed for a little bit so my mom would visit with her sister and whatnot. And she said when they came back, they didn't see anything. But she described it as when she seen the shine, she could see that it was about 8 foot off the ground, or where the ground would have been, because some of the edges of the ditch, the side, the what do they call that? The bank. Yes, the bank. Some of it kind of gets a little kind of hilly, like maybe 2-3 feet high. It's not really a lot, but at the point in time because he pointed it out several years ago, and it was not exactly one of the taller ones, but it might have been a foot and a half of mound there. But it's not like it was just a dirt mound. I mean, the whole terrain was like that. So, I mean, we could probably deduct maybe 6 inches from that and be safe. And she always described the eyes, and she took her both hands and made the, how little kids will do the glasses, and they get with their thumb and forefinger, and then their other 3 fingers are sticking up kind of like eyelashes. She did that, but instead of round, they were almond shaped, and she said they were slanted. And she said that they were an amber with a hint or flecks of green in the color. She said she couldn't really explain that. I mean, that could just be something that specific a creature. And I asked her, what kind of impression did you get from it? She said it was canine. And now, when she told me that, I was like, so you saw a werewolf? I don't believe in werewolves. Okay. And then it wasn't until maybe a couple of days to a week past here that I was listening to your show, and she's like, maybe that was what I saw. I was like, why not? I mean, why not believe it? I mean, my mom and dad were not the kind of people that would lie to you about, something like that. It would rattle them in some way, maybe not traumatically, but enough to go, what was that? It puzzled them. They didn't know what it was. I mean, back then, I don't know how many Dogman reports or even how many were known of, other than the Michigan Dogman, which we didn't know about any of that stuff until we watched the Monster Quest episode on werewolves.
Well, better late than never. At least you found out what it was. And I heard you say something about their experience. It tells me that they actually saw a type 3, not a canine type Dogman.
Yeah, it's one thing. It's like, I don't understand. Okay, there's a type 3. What's type 1 and 2? Where are the differences? What's so special about this one? I mean, if I come across any of them, I'm hoping that I can get away. I don't care if it's a type 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. You saw a Dogman in Afghanistan, Adam. Which military branch did you serve in?
I didn't personally serve. I wound up getting a job as a government contractor, and we did all the stuff that the military could have done if they have enough people, but where there's all the military was, there's hardly anybody, so civilians got to go do all that. It wasn't bad. It was really a nice job, but, I mean, it's just combat zone,
Yeah, things can be only so good in a combat zone. I get it. If you've had a Dogman encounter and would like to speak with me about it, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest on one of my 2 Bigfoot shows, please go to mybigfootsighting.com. All right, Adam, please tell us about your encounters now. Give us every last detail that comes to mind.
All righty. The first one that I had was just the summer after we moved out here. My best friend at the time, or one of them, he would come over a lot during that summer because he lived in town and I'm in the magical woods all of a sudden. So he came over a lot and we ran all over the countryside. We went north and south and east and west. We probably found an up and down somewhere. But on this particular day, we had gotten up at probably 10 or 10:30. And we decided that we was going to go down to this place called the Hill Hole. It used to be a real good swimming place before they changed the flow of it somehow. I don't remember what it was. But we went down there and we stayed there for probably about an hour and a half and decided to start walking back. Yeah, it's about a 3-mile trek uphill mostly. But I mean, 13 and 14 years old or whatever we was, maybe 10 or 11, I can't remember sometimes. You actually have more stamina than what you think you do, because it's like you don't think about it, especially when you're walking with somebody else and you're keeping your mind off of it. So we continue, we will walk on, when we see some berries and whatnot. We pick some blackberries, well, not blackberries, just like grapes or something. I can't remember what it was. There was some kind of wild fruit that was growing. Might have been no, it wasn't musket. I don't remember what it was. We didn't die from it, so it was okay. Again, kids have no intelligence. And so we finally make it all the way back up to the back side of the property. That's where the cattle guard was. It's like a wood tunnel, it's like a tunnel through the woods. And so we enter it, and probably about, what do you say? I'd say probably about 10 minutes. I didn't feel anything. It was my friend, but I didn't know anything about it. He didn't say anything. I was like, I don't quite know why until he told me when we got back. But we were playing with our Bowie knives. I mean, those are giant, like swords for, preteens. We were practicing them on the fallen logs. And my mom was a stickler for, like, you do not hurt plants unless you need to. You don't take a stick and beat on trees. Okay. So dead trees was fine. And that's what we were doing on the way back. Him, not quite as much. No, I didn't really think about that, just so sometimes I can be oblivious until it, like, comes crashing through finally. My brain finally filters something out and go, oh! But we get back. I think it's probably like a 30-minute walk. We wasn't moving real fast, just, kids in the woods enjoying themselves. I thought anyway. Well, we come out on this side of the property, and it opens up to a power line that splits the property in half. And it's probably about 25 feet across to the other, maybe 30 to the other side of the property. But we have to come slightly up the hill when we come out. We turn to our right and go up the hill a little bit, and that's where the trailer is. And so we get about halfway to the porch, and I turn around to say something to him, and I see that he was always white, but he was just, I mean, it was, I don't know how to explain that level of paleness. Yes, it's like all the color was gone. I mean, I don't know how color can drain from no color, but and I'm like, dude, what's wrong? I was really worried. I didn't know what was going on. I thought he might have been bit by a snake or something and didn't say anything. I asked him, I said, dude, what's up? He's like, I don't know. It's like maybe 5 to 10 minutes after we entered the property, I got this weird, just he couldn't really articulate it because I don't think he quite understood how it made him feel. But the best that he could, he wanted to run. It's like he had snakes squirming around and making him nauseous, and he was rough looking. And then I'm like, I don't remember the exact conversation. And I was like, what do you think it was? He's like, I don't know, man, but I know one thing, death was following us. I never smelt anything. Nothing affected me. So either that wasn't what they were paying attention to at that time, or I was just luckily like a foot ahead of where the effectiveness of it was. But I was worried. I mean, he looked terrible. And I was like, well, maybe we go in and get something to eat and drink. You'll feel better. So we come up to the porch, and probably about 6 minutes after we come in, we decide we're gonna cook some pizza rolls. It started to subside. He was feeling better. That was like the last time he came over for the summer, though. So this would have been like probably around 2 in the afternoon, maybe give or take 10 minutes. So this summer, this would have been around probably towards the end of July, beginning of August, if I was to have to be pressed for it. So it was a nice day, sunny. We hadn't had rain for a while, so it wasn't too humid down here. I guess I should have mentioned this with the bio, but I live in the southwest part of Arkansas. The property we live on is actually considered part of the Ouachita National Forest as far as terrain and trees and whatnot. So that being said, I know it's a hot spot for Bigfoot and whatnot. I bring it up to let you know geographically how close I am to Oklahoma and other places like that. About an hour to an hour and 20 minutes away from Falk, Arkansas. So I'm pretty sure the Falk monsters roamed through the property at least once in the 28 years this house has been here. Oh, yeah. A detail that I forgot to mention a minute ago. He said that he did kind of have, there was a weird smell. He said it was kind of, he couldn't really explain where it was coming from or quite. I mean, there's some words and phrases you don't know until you get into high school, and how or correctly how to articulate. But if I smelled it, I didn't pay attention because I've smelled dead things out here all the time, and come across what's left of a rabbit or something that The vultures would pick clean. Over the years, the dogs would leave random bits of whatever they drag up. So if it was, I couldn't say, but that over 20 years ago, and kind of hard, especially if I don't remember. I mean, I know I'm getting kind of tongue tied a little bit, but I'm a little sad or disappointed with that experience because I didn't experience anything, so I didn't know my friend was, about ready to split his skeleton out of his skin and run. That's pretty much, I think, all for that one. It's not an exciting one, I know, but so the next one, so that would have been in first. So that my first one with my friend would have been in like '97. So about 2 years later, in '99, I have another friend staying over. This friend, he had a real bad home life. I mean, I won't go into details because some of it's not something you say over online or a radio. But so he'd try to come over to my house as much as possible. Even if it was just for the Friday night, just something to break up the home life. This he came over and it was, I want to say, for some reason I want to say October 18th, but I know it was October around the middle, closer to Halloween than it would have been the first. And he brought over the video game Medieval for the PlayStation, because at the time he didn't have one. So he came over and he was playing on mine. Well, he got to some part or puzzle or something that he got stuck on and couldn't figure out. So he just turned it off and was like, we gonna go over to your aunt's tonight? I'm like, yeah, we can. Let's go ask my mom. So we go in to the kitchen and she's cleaning up from supper and whatnot. And it's like, can you take us over to Bob's tonight? And he's like, yeah, you give me like, 20 minutes to get done here and I can. Okay. Didn't have a problem waiting. Well, we go back into the living room and he's like, well, we just walk there, it was only 2 miles away, 45-minute walk, And I'm like, okay, I'll tell my mom that we're just going to walk over there and we can ride back with her when she comes. So we head out and probably, 350 feet from the house, he pulls out a pack of cigarettes. And I'm like, yep, he just wanted to go smoke a cigarette. And I'm like, dude, you could have just walked out into the property, where she couldn't see and you could have smoked. It's like, yeah, but I wanted to go walking. Okay. So I'm like, you better give me one of those then. So we do the walk. We get to the main road, it's County Road 6. You can either go to your right and you go up a couple of hills. It's not really bad. And that would take you to my aunt's. And that was about half a mile away. We get there and he's like, hey, why don't we walk to town? We can go see your cousin in town. I'm like, well, what about Boggs? He's like, well, I want to smoke another cigarette. Okay, lead on. So we're walking and smoking. Kids, right, And so we get to by the time we get to where the bridge is, in the first two pictures, I showed the river and the bridge, the remnants of the bridge that we had to walk on back then. Like, if it sprinkled, it would flood the bridge. And people who had never been on the road would just stop and just be dumbfounded because the bridge had a curve in it. It was an angular curve, but it was still a curve, and it freaked a lot of people out who had never been over there before. Well, I don't think anything about it until we get onto the bridge, and it's like, oh crap, I gotta walk this 2-mile creepy stretch. But that didn't last very long because it was like, I got a friend here, ain't nothing gonna bother us. I got somebody with me. I mean, again, kids. Of course, a lot of people will see another person as a safety net, I suppose. So we're walking along and we're just talking and, being preteens and whatnot. And about close to the midpoint. I'd say probably tenth of a mile. Yeah, about a tenth of a mile. Because the mid part there is like the mile marker, if you will. But before we get there, I have to go to the bathroom. I was like, hey man, I gotta go mosey over here and relieve myself. He's like, okay, and he walks ahead 10 and 15 feet or whatever for privacy reasons, and so I'm doing my thing, doing the guy thing, you're either humming or you're looking around, watching where you're aiming and whatnot. And as I'm doing this, I'm looking around, not paying much of attention to anything, just like, am I done yet? Can we go? Because sometimes it's boring. Anyway, it's like my body and brain decided, you know what? We're not going to throw the alarm this time. We're just going to guide his head to where he needs to look. So I was looking to the left, and in the process of, I was looking to the left and down. I was looking at, it was a turtle, believe it or not. I didn't know why it was out there in the middle of the night, but we were close to the river, so. And he crawled off into the other side of the woods real quick, and I've never seen a tortoise move that fast. I didn't think anything of it. So in the process of paying attention to him running away, and I look into the woods, I don't know why I looked into the woods, and from those pictures, if you look at night, you can't see a lot. And even if it was right in front of you, there's enough trees and foliage to break up anything on the other side. At this part, there's a barbed wire fence that runs the length of the road because both sides of the road are tree crop. So there's a barbed wire fence that's been overgrown along with this thick wall of woods, but my brain, I black out, if you will, a blank, like for a second. I'm looking into the woods, and I'm starting to look up, and about where my gaze would be probably a 6.5 foot. Next thing I know, I'm running. And I didn't have much thought process except, oh crap, run. My brain was kind of bouncing off everything, trying to catch itself, make sense. I don't know. I mean, you black out and then you wake up and it's like, well, I got at least a second. I don't know what happened. But anyway, as I'm running, my friend, he bolts by me. And that just made me want to run even faster because it's like, oh, no. I don't know what this is, but you're not going to beat me. Of course, he did. He beat me to the cattle guard, but only by a few minutes. And as we're running, I lose him behind the last curve that takes you straight to where the cattle guard and where the civilization would start again. As I come around the corner, I see that he's crossed over the cattle guard and was starting to kind of slow down to a hop and jog, if you will, so to take a break. And I'm like, oh no, we got to keep going. So I come running past him, and it's like, don't stop now, keep going. Even though 35 feet at an angle from where we were, there was a person's house. But the old man that lives there was probably in his 50s at the time, at least. And I didn't want to go wake. I didn't want to let anybody, I didn't want anything. I just wanted to get off the road and someplace with lights. I didn't want to have to stand out there and wait for someone to come to the door and, whatever it is gets me. And so once where the cattle guard is, we get to that part. There's like 6 houses scattered across each side. But like I said, I didn't want to stop anywhere. I just wanted to go. Go. So we run the rest of the mile of that. We get to the cattle guard, and there was probably another 3/4 of a mile to the highway. So we cross the tracks, hit the highway. I keep running to the other side of the highway because I wanted as much stuff between me and whatever that could have been. I mean, if a train come through and it hit it, that's what I was wanting to happen. Just in case. And so we get there, and the long story short from there, we get in trouble because we weren't where we were supposed to be. We were out when we shouldn't have been in town, and, of course, my friend, he got the worst of that. And so he didn't get to come over for a long time. It's like, I know that I mentioned the turtle, and I know that it's kind of odd, but like I said, it was there. I noticed it because it was like a moving rock for where I was, and it was, I think it crossed the road in probably 3 seconds. And they can move when they have to. And, a large possible meat-eating creature, that would make anything want to move that couldn't compete with it. But we didn't really get a chance to exactly process that situation like maybe we should have, because we get to town, we wind up, we go to my cousins, we get in trouble, parents are called, and all this great stuff of being a kid and figuring things out the hard way. Let's see. By the time the next school day, which was Monday, came around, of course, everybody in school had heard about it. And they're like, "What happened? What were y'all doing?" This is where my friend lets me know about that missing second or two. Because he's like, "Oh, yeah, it's like Doughboy here. He had to go to the bathroom, so I just walked ahead, and I'm waiting. I can hear his scream and all this, and then it's quiet. And the next thing I know, boom, 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 it's like, herd of elephants coming." So he's like, I turn, and as fast as the flash, there goes Doughboy. And he's screaming, "Run, run, run." And he's like, I ain't ever seen a fat boy move so fast in my life. It was, being October, it was really cool for that day for me, because as much body weight as I had a lot of insulation, but it was cold enough where I had my jacket on. So I know that it was cold. Like, I don't remember a smell or sound or anything. But again, if I'd have noticed it and it was in that time that I blacked out for a second or two, then I can't tell you if it was chasing us for sure, because between the adrenaline and my heart in my ears and lungs threatening to explode, and the mad of just go, gotta get safe, need lights, and they gotta get somewhere, get safe. And that road is about probably 2 miles in a straight line from where the property that we live on is. And so after my mom told me about hers, I was like, oh, great. He just runs around the hillside. But after the ice storm of 2001 and the tree company harvesting their crop from that side, there hasn't been a lot of anything that I've heard of. It's not a creepy place to drive through at night. I haven't heard anything about the Headless Horseman's ghost or anything. So probably like a lot of animals that get displaced, it just went somewhere else. My friend described the situation like me and the creature both had to go pee at the same time and spooked each other. I'm like, you know what? I'll take that. That sounds good. I'll buy that. And so that was pretty much the end of that. But around the immediate area, when we get to the area where the cattle guard is and civilization starts again, the barbed wire fences don't just go to the tree line; they go across the tree line too. So when it was done, when the cattle ranchers would graze their cows, they free range them, is why the cattle guard was there, and that is it's like a gate, but it's on the ground. It's designed so the cows can't walk over it. Looks just like a bunch of long metal pipes, basically. I don't know how it worked exactly. I don't know how the cows didn't get hung up in it and whatnot, but it did. But they stopped doing that several years after that, and so they took the cattle guard out. And if this road goes to that river, so creatures got water supply, plenty of trees at the time, and it started to grow up pretty good now. So if he comes back, he still got some coverage. And then that was it. Now, since we didn't actually get didn't get a visual at all, a visual confirmation, I don't think it, had as traumatic effect as what it should have, because we didn't have that, it was a bear, or, it's werewolf. It's like, some demon from the depths of hell or something. But after I found your show, it made me remember a lot of this, and outside of just like a passing, oh yeah, I remember that, and you forget about it. Right. Yeah. So, but I mean, I don't know. That's just my theory why it didn't. But like, the kids can be resilient little creatures. So like some of them's like, you know what? He just lost his mom and he cried a little bit, but he's back up on his horse. And some people are like, they break their leg and it's like, oh, it's so traumatic for them. Which, pain, I can see being traumatic. I mean, I still think pain is a great deterrent. I don't want to get punched in the face, so I'm not going to antagonize that guy. And so from there, we went into high school and all that good stuff. And girls and all that, and forgotten. So it comes time for graduation, and me and that particular friend, we decided we wanted to go join the Marines. I'm like, because my dad was a Marine. I come from a militaristic-minded family. Most of the people were in some branch of service, and it's like, I felt obligated to have to go in too. Yeah, but that didn't work out. I did not meet the maximum weight requirement or the minimum weight requirement or whatever it is. It's like, nope, you're too heavy. Okay. Well, we go through all that year, and me and my cousin wind up getting a job that takes us to Afghanistan. So we spend 2 weeks in Houston for orientation, background, vaccinations, the whole shebang. And so we got on as February 13th was when we left Houston. And we arrived in Paris on the 15th. And I thought it was funny that we somehow missed Valentine's Day going through time zones. And so it takes us about a week to get from there to the first base. There was an Air Force base called K2. That was the first base that you came into when you got to Afghanistan. And we worked our way down from there to where we would wind up being. He got sent to a different base, and I got sent down to Salerno. Now, at this point, I was kind of lost because my familiarity was gone. My cousin had been moved, and I was like, I'm lost, and I could go home. I mean, even if I was just like, you know what, I'm going home, I just have to wait for a flight out. So, but I had made some acquaintances and friends as I was there. Of course, they was all older than me, but they got me through that. And I'm glad that they did, because if I'd have gone home, then I wouldn't have got to see some of the world. Not a lot of people can say that they've been to Paris, France, even if it was an airport. The first day that I'm there for about 2 hours, and it's just about dusk there at Salerno. Me and a couple of the other guys are moving our stuff into the tent that we were going to be staying at, when we hear the unmistakable zinging whistle of, you hear the whistle, and it's like, you could be a missile, rocket, whatever. As long as you can hear it, though, you're good. And I look at the guy that's helping me move my bed in there, and I got a quizzical look, because the base that I had just previously been in until 5 hours before that, they'd been doing controlled detonations at the Bagram Air Force Base. They were cleaning up all the mines left over from when the Russians came in. There's a lot of mines. The complex area where the KBR employees was right on a minefield. They're like, if it's yellow or orange, don't walk over it. And I look down and I'm like, oh, we got to fly, don't we? Bit of an exaggeration, but. So I didn't think anything about the impact when I heard it. And he looks at me, he's like, it's incoming. We drop the bed, we come out, and we hear another impact. And the guy that was out smoking, he was in Vietnam, and he'd already hit the deck from the first one. We grab him, pick him up, and we haul butt to the closest bunker. And in true luck, I cracked my head going in and out. But we sitting there for probably 45 minutes until it's over, and then we had to wait for another 20 minutes for the Marines to take stock and make sure that they had everybody, and then we had to call all our people in to our boss, and that probably took 10 minutes because that's about at the time my number was I was number 208 person to come there, and so it takes a little bit to get at least 200 people on the radio because whenever an incoming happens, you wind up running into a bunker, and you're going to be in with civilians and the military because it's the first safe place. So that was my first introduction to the base, and they're like, "Yep, it's called Rocket City." And they tell me about how many rockets they had the previous year. It was like 70 something. But the base was situated just a little bit north of the Pakistan border, which is where all the bad guys was hiding from the Marines and the 82nd Airborne when they took over the base. So that was a fun night. About a week or two in, I'm still learning the ropes. My job was kind of like a foreman. I had to go to the gate and pick up the local workers. They deduced that one employee could safely manage 10 locals. Okay, whatever. Most of the time, they didn't give you any trouble, except for the ones that had been spoiled by Americans. It's like, no, you can't. No, we're not going to get you a Coke at 2 in the afternoon. You want a Coke? Work for it. But that's aside. I'm down there waiting for my guys to show up, and there's this one Marine, he's a tower guard. He was sitting there smoking, and I left my lighter in my room. And I asked if he had a light. Then we get to chatting. And I just asked him, like, what kind of stuff do y'all have to watch out for aside from bad guys up there that you can tell somebody, it's not classified? And he's like, well, the snakes, the sand crates, if we can see one, then we have to call, people know about that, and camel spiders, scorpions, just general things. And he tells me about that to be careful at night walking the base because of the large wild dogs that are around there. And I was like, what makes them so bad? And he was walking away when I asked, kind of turning away, I should say. And he turns back to me and says that mutants. And turns around. That's the last time I've seen him because within the next 3 weeks, they had moved out and the 82nd had moved in. And I just filed that under everything else. All right, that's just one more thing that's going to hurt me while I'm here, because in orientation when we got there, they were like, everything here is evil and can kill you. There's no if it kills you, it can. It will. If you get like the sand crate, if you get by the sand crate, the venom unit the military had was like, don't call us. You got about 15, 20 minutes to live, and we don't even have any anti-venom for that. So, in which I did wind up getting chased by one of those, and that was fun. So we jumped forward about 4.5 months, maybe. It's been the end of July, beginning of August, somewhere in there. At this point in time, I was working swing shift for the MWR, that's Morale, Welfare, and Recreation. I started at 12:30 at the Phone and Computer Center. This was the military exclusive because they could access the special military network and whatnot from it. And what I did there was they'd come in, they'd hand me their ID, I'd write their name, rank, and the last four of the social down and give them a number. The number corresponded with either a computer or a phone. So I did that for about 6 hours, and then I went to the game room, which is where they have the TVs and games and a couple pool tables, ping pong table, a bunch of DVD movies. I was in there one day, and they were watching a bootlegged version, if you will, of Star Wars Episode 3 that they had that it was so bootleg. There was one scene that was looped twice, and I laughed when I seen that. But when I was working the swings, I get off at like 1:30, and it was bright lights in there. So I would go out on the back porch and let my eyes adjust, smoke a cigarette, chat with anybody out there. And being lazy, there was a main drag on the south side. If I remember correctly, it was the south. They called it Sniper Road because it faced directly to where the enemy was hiding. At night, you weren't supposed to use bright lights, low-level lighting, red lights, green or blue if you have to, preferably red. But I had a little pocket one. My thumb was almost as big as it, so I could put my thumb over it, and it would leave a little sliver of light that I could see on the ground, kind of like a crescent moon. And so where the MWR building was, you could go out the back and along the wall a little bit, and you'd come out and take the Sniper Road, and where you came out was where the flight line and where the Air Force had their stuff. There was the fuel bladder was up there, but the main drag, Sniper Road, went straight down it, and it was probably, I'd say it was around a mile long. I'm not sure. I can't remember. The base was also on a subtle 70-degree slope. That was fun when it rained. Anyway, this night, I'm getting ready. I'm excited because I'm fixing to be going on an R&R. I've been here for around 6 months, and it's like, I want to go see some trees. I'm from the country. I want to see some trees. And they had some trees there, but if you've seen desert trees, it's about the same. Well, I've been walking down it for maybe a couple minutes. I wasn't paying any attention. I just passed the guard tower where the flight line was, and the guard towers were made out of connexes stacked on top of each other. These are the fancy shipping crates, if you don't know what a connex is. And they were stacked too high, and they were welded with the Air Force welding rods, which if you've ever seen are massive. Anyway, there was 2 along the road before I would get to the turnoff where I would just turn to the left and be able to turn to the right, and I'm at my bed. So I've passed the first gate, the first tower, I'm sorry, and in between that one and the second one was after where you would be able to walk back into the base. It was like probably a quarter of a block long, I think, before you got there from where I was. And it turned back in the base and turned what I called Town Square, because the Chow Hall was there, the base exchange, the phone and computer center, the officer tents, all the major players and whatnot are there. So in between that spot and where I was, I don't know, I still don't quite know what caught my attention to look off to my right. The right side had a regular barbed wire fence running down it that was there from the locals, because the other side of that fence was like a pasture for grazing their sheep. So I look off and then I see something, and then I realize that's big. That's big. And I kind of get a little bit of anxiety in my stomach, because it's like, oh, that's 125 feet away. It's a good distance, but after finding out what it possibly was, it could have made that in no time. And so I never actually slowed down walking, or stopped walking. Walking, and I kind of turn around and look back at the tower, and still walking behind, looking at it, walking backwards, and there was nobody looking in that direction at the time. I turn back around and I look at it again, and I'm watching it, and the moon, there was enough moon. It was at least a half moon. There was just casting enough light that I could make out. It's not exactly an outline, but I guess it did outline parts of it. I'm not really good with distances, but I can do height. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. And where it was, about as far as it was, the size that it looked, and from where I was, and knowing that the fence was about 5 foot and I'm 5'8", I was able to estimate that it is probably close to the size of a Geo Metro. I know because my mom had one in the early 2000s. So that was, it's like the size of a cow, if you will. And just like it could have messed anything up. But it was walking parallel with the fence, but at like a 35 degree angle and going in the opposite direction or away from me. Now, I couldn't see ears. Of course, I didn't think to look for ears. I find out after I got home from that I needed glasses, so that probably hindered some of the finer exterior small details like an ear, or if it had a tail. If it had a tail, it was probably tucked up under it. But he was looking very intently in the other direction. And as I'm doing all this, it's probably happened 10 seconds, maybe. I didn't hang around long to get to where I was going. And then our brain finally filters out information and clicks in, and it's like, I bet that's one of those wild dogs I was told about. Which I guess immediately was like, okay, no big deal. I'm just going to turn left and go walk through the base. But as I was observing it, it felt like it lasted minutes. I mean, its movement wasn't jerky. You could tell that this is what he was doing, but it was just there was something that I don't know. I can't. I could tell that it was canine. It was not blacker than black, but definitely because of the moon, and it was a little darker color. You could see it now once I noticed it. I could tell that it had reverse joint legs like canines. I couldn't see the feet because it was a shrub brush pasture or whatever it was we had over there. So there was foliage enough on the ground where it would obstruct it if I was close enough to have seen it, but I didn't. But one of the things that did, and I didn't think about it until earlier today, was it's kind of like it had, my mane that doesn't seem right, more like a pelt on its back, like in the shoulder blades and on the shoulders, kind of. And it occurred to me today that it seemed like it was an important one, like it might have been, like it was regal, or I don't know, like he was an important creature of the creatures, is the impression that I got. I never seen the eyes. I didn't smell anything because along this road down towards where my bedroom was, the place I sleep, there was a human waste pond. And so I wouldn't have been able to have smelled it over the smell of that, but I never noticed that smell to begin with. So I don't know. But like I said, I didn't hang around. My brain's like, that's a wild dog. You were told not to even think about them, basically. And luckily, I was able to turn in there where the PX of the chow hall was. And so I sat down at one of the benches outside of the PX where there was some people, and I smoked a cigarette to kind of calm me down a little bit. And I done that and decided that the best thing to do is just walk through the base. Yeah, it's longer and tedious. It seemed like it took hours to walk through it. It wasn't really that big, but there's a lot of turns and twists you had to make. But I made the extra effort to go through several bunkers and whatnot as I was working my way towards where I was, just in case it noticed me and was like, American, let's try that. Whether it noticed me or not, I don't know. I can't imagine a creature this size not knowing, at least in some degree. But they're I couldn't really tell what kind of fur it had either. That pelt or mane, or that fuzz on the back of it. So the next day, after I got home. And before I made a point after I got to my hooch, I got my stuff to go take a shower and shave. I took my time, probably about 40 minutes to shower and shave, just to add an extra bit of something, wash my sin off, or, just something else. And then went back and didn't exactly sleep much because, come on, I was thinking about the thing kind of, it's like, what was that? Was that, just, it's a black canid type shape and very large, and it was puzzling, but it's not like, even if it had been a situation where it would have charged or attacked or noticed me, it wouldn't have mattered if I was traumatized and terrified, because I couldn't just quit and call someone to come pick me up. I'm halfway across the world. I'd had to wait, looking at like a week just for a flight to possibly come in. And then you have to wait and make sure that you could be on that flight to leave. So it wouldn't have done any good to have been terrified. Of course, fear doesn't make so much sense, because it's like, you might be afraid of the werewolf, but you'll come up against something that's even meaner and uglier, and you're like, oh, that's an interesting creature. And I didn't know anything about the Dogman at the time. I didn't know that it never even occurred to me that a werewolf might actually be its own independent, separate creature. Just thanks to Hollywood and books and whatnot. And the creature is like, muddled in with a bunch of, I don't know. They're fun to watch and read, but sometimes it's not a good idea to pay attention to what you've read in a fictitious book or in a movie. I really don't want to test the silver bullet theory. Not if I could help it. And so the next day, I went and walked back and checked where I could have more light and see better. And due to the angle it was going, it either have had to crept through the base and hopped the fence there, or it had swung by the human waste pond, maybe as like a scent camouflage or something. I could definitely tell his movements. I think that he was either stalking or stalking around something, maybe like avoiding, maybe. There could have been another one on the other side, and he was sneaking around the back to catch it, or he was the bait, and the other one would come. I don't know. It wasn't long after that I went on R&R, and eventually I came home, and I forgot about it. Yeah, except for, and I didn't, the only person I told after I got back was my cousin. I didn't tell anybody else, because if there was anybody that was going to be inclined to believe me, it would have been her. And me and her were a bit close all our lives as kids and whatnot. And it was like, I trusted her. So I was like, I'm going to tell her. Whether or not I was believed, I don't know. But at least it made me feel okay about it. And this is in August, so it was cool, even though it was a summer, because it's a desert. It didn't get as cold as like what some other deserts will get to. I think it was only like maybe a 15 or 20 degree difference the night than a day. During the day, I couldn't even tell you which direction was north, because it seemed like the sun just hung there and then it was gone. I didn't walk down that road at night again by myself, I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you what, Adam. I know you have more stories to share with us, including the one where you heard something pounding on the side of the house. We're out of time. Would you be up for coming back to do a part 2 on this?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because, of course, I have questions for you in addition to that. So we'll just stop it right here, and then we'll have you come back for part 2, and we'll take it from there then.
All righty.
All right, great. Well, thanks again so much for your time, and have a great night.